Okay, so we have been learning about writing a literary essay for our unit of study, and we have been looking and examining a video about the Penier Football Club. All right, at this point in the unit, you have written a thesis statement, you have decided on 3 main ideas, and you have collected evidence from the video using both the video that we watched and your copy of the script, and you also have copies of still shots from the video. Okay, so now we're ready to start writing, and we're actually going to start in the middle of our essay. We're not going to start at the beginning, we're going to start with the body paragraphs. Now, if you remember, when we started our unit by looking at a sample essay. This is an essay that we wrote in 4th grade when we were doing our unit on literary essay, and we were studying the book Fox. In the first bend, we wrote about the character dog. Some people chose to write about magpie, some people chose to write about fox, but the focus in the first bend was to focus on the character analysis, deciding what kind of a person or character that character was in the book, and assigning character traits and producing evidence. Now, the way that this piece is different for us this year is that our evidence is going to come from the video. So I want to start by looking very carefully at body paragraphs. Let's just look at the first body paragraph. To begin, dog is a good friend because he is caring. For example, dog cares for Magpie when she is hurt during the fire. At the beginning of the book, he holds Magpie in his mouth, and his mouth is described as gentle. Dogs' mouths contain sharp teeth that are normally used to rip birds apart, but instead, dog uses his gentle mouth to carry Magpie to safety. This shows he is caring, not hurtful. Dog also cares for her emotions. When Magpie says, "I will never fly," dog tries to cheer her up by saying, "Life is still good." In addition, dog also cares for the character Fox by inviting him to stay with them. He offers food, shelter, and companionship. Dog is a good friend because he cares for others. Okay, we've already started this unit by doing an inquiry, but let's remind ourselves of the things that we saw in the body paragraph. Tell me something that is in the body paragraph that should be in yours. What do you see, Matthew?
That dog can be very good.
Okay, so stop for a second. We're focusing not on the content, but the structure. How is it written? How is it organized? Gianna?
The transitional phrase.
Okay, so at the very beginning of the paragraph, we have a transitional phrase. This happens to be the first body paragraph, but we have "to begin" as the transitional phrase for that body paragraph. What else do you know?
Using dialogue.
Okay, it's not really using dialogue. Those quotation marks are indicating that it's a quote from the book, that the text is lifted from the book. So in this case, the quotation marks don't necessarily indicate dialogue, although in one of the situations I think it does, but it definitely tells the reader that you're lifting text directly from the book. What else, Connor?
Stating the main idea at the beginning.
At the very beginning. So when Gianna said transitional phrase, we know that first sentence in our body paragraph begins with a transitional phrase, but it continues with our actual main idea sentence. So we have "to begin, dog is a good friend because he is caring." That is our main idea. Okay, what else are you seeing in this body paragraph, Ryan?
You are seeing chronological order.
How are you seeing chronological order?
Because it says next, and finally, and to begin, and as you see.
All right, so let's stop for a second. We're only looking at the first body paragraph. We're only looking at the first body paragraph. Callie? There are 3 important details that are used to support. So if somebody said to you, "How does the author of this essay support the idea that dog is caring?" Well, The author supports the idea that dog is caring by talking about how his mouth is described as gentle, by showing that he is caring not only for Magpie, but for her emotions as well, and because he was very hospitable to Fox. So we have three very important details, our bullets, to go with our box of our main idea. What else?
Cause and effect.
How are you seeing cause and effect?
Like, so if you say dog is a good friend because he cares for others, you would say because he cares for others, dog is a good friend.
Okay, I'm not seeing that this is written as a cause and effect. I see the word because in there, which could be a clue, but it's the only time that it's in there is in the main idea and in the connecting sentence at the end. So I would disagree that it's cause and effect. I think this is more description because you have things like, for example, okay, also, this shows, okay, those seem to be a stronger piece of evidence to show that it is description and not cause and effect. Yes, Sarah.
There's elaboration.
There's elaboration. Remember last year? Remember Evie and Ella? Do you remember the sisters, Evie and Ella? Evie is the evidence. She states all the fact. Ella always adds on more information to her. There is a whole separate video on Evie and Ella on the YouTube channel if you want to remind yourself of that. So not only is the information presented, but it's also elaborated on. So when we say that at the beginning of the book, he holds Magpie in his mouth, and his mouth is described as gentle. Okay, that's the evidence. Here's the elaboration. Here's the Ella part. Dogs' mouths contain sharp teeth that are normally used to rip birds apart, but instead dog uses his gentle mouth to carry Magpie to safety. This shows he is caring, not hurtful. Okay, so that's the Ella portion of it, Malik. That's the Ella portion where something more is said. Okay, there's one more piece that we haven't talked about yet. Gianna?
At the very end, you connect your thesis and main idea of that paragraph together.
Exactly. So at the very end of the body paragraph, the last sentence is a sentence that includes information from both the thesis and the main idea. Dog is a good friend because he cares for others. Okay? We call that a connecting sentence because it connects what we've been talking about back to our thesis. In the rubric for the testing, they grade that. They call it cohesiveness. How well does it stick together? And that is one way to make sure that it sticks together. Okay, so today we're going to start writing our first body paragraph. So go ahead and turn to a clear page. And we're going to start writing. Please put the date up in the corner. And in your green packet, and hopefully some of you who were here last year will remember this, there is a chart in our green packet called Transitional Words and Phrases. And you'll notice the way that this is organized. In this box, you have several transitional phrases that you could use to begin your first body paragraph. So you're going to choose one of those right now. You're going to indent. And write your transitional phrase. We all know that transitional phrases are followed by what punctuation? Matthew? Tania? A comma. A transitional phrase is followed by a comma. Okay. Emily, I'm looking down. You did not indent your paragraph. Can you see how I put my finger right here and I indented? That's how you begin a paragraph. All right, who has a good main idea that they would like to share? Main idea. Gianna? Okay? I'm just using this as an example. The Panier Football Club. And I'm going to skip a line because this is my rough draft, and I want to leave room if I want to check it. This is just an example. After you have your transitional phrase, you are going to write one of your main ideas. Ryan?
So are we going to be writing this down, or can we write our own down?
Well, if you were listening, I said that this is just an example. You're writing your own. I told you to choose a transitional phrase from the chart, and then I asked you to write your main idea sentence after the transitional phrase. And I'm just going to stop there. I know, Gianna, that's not your full one, but I am just going to stop there. So you are writing your body paragraph. This is just a model. And remember, your main idea came right off of your planning sheet, right? So if you don't remember your main idea, you're going to go back to your planning sheet. It comes right off your planning sheet. That's why all the hard work that we did to create our plan is important. Because once you have the plan done, it makes the writing easier. Okay, so when I'm thinking about this main idea, I can think of parts or pieces of the video that support that they did not have space to practice. Okay, if I was looking at my plan, I might have something like, they lived on an island. There was no space to play because the houses were almost built over the water. Another piece of evidence we had that there was no space to practice. Remember the bicycle that went off of the boardwalk and crashed into the water? Okay, that was one way they showed that. All right. So when we think about how are we going to support this, this is a video. It's not a book. It's a video. How am I going to support this? Well, the way you're going to support it is you're going to support it by using what we call an angled mini story. An angled mini story. And this was the chart you started to write down. How to craft an angled mini story. All right, so if you could stop for a second, because right before we write this, I want to go over it with you. All right, we already have our main idea, so we've already completed step one. We're going to identify and rank moments that support the main idea. Okay, I gave you 3 moments, right? One of the moments I gave you was that somebody drove their bicycle off of the sidewalk or the boardwalk, that the houses were built over the water, and that they had no place to play. They lived on an island. Okay? And it looked like in the video that it was like a volcanic island almost, because it was mountainous. Okay? There was no flat land there. Okay? So I've identified the moments in the video that show this main idea, that there's no place to practice. Okay? So now I'm going to rank them. Okay, I'm going to put them in order according to which ones are the most, which items are the most powerful for showing it. Okay, when I decide on the part I want to use as my evidence, the first thing I'm going to do is introduce the story by using another transitional phrase. Like, one time in the video, one part of the video, this is shown when in the video, or this is shown when the boys, Okay, so I'm going to introduce my mini story with a transitional phrase that tells my reader that I am going to be telling a little mini story about a scene or a part or a segment of the video. Then I'm going to retell it. Now, I'm not going to retell all of the details. For example, think about this. If I was going to be telling about how suddenly the villagers started to support them, I wouldn't say the boys were standing on the dock, holding onto the boat. All of their belongings ready for the tournament were inside the boat. They each had one foot on the side of the boat and were ready to push off. And then the villagers showed up with equipment. I've just given a lot of details to a part of the video that's not important. I can summarize that by saying, just before the boys left for the tournament, the villagers opened up boxes filled with the equipment and the uniforms that they could wear. So I'm only going to focus on the parts of my retelling that really drive home my main idea. I'm going to zoom past the parts that don't apply, and I'm going to zoom in onto the parts that show the main idea very clearly. Sometimes you have to summarize a little bit because your reader's going to need that background information to understand. So today, during our work period, what you are going to do is you are going to work on your body paragraph, your first body paragraph. You're going to continue from what you have so far, where you have a transitional phrase and your main idea, your first main idea. And now you're going to go ahead and support your main idea with an angled mini story from the video. Anybody have any questions? Ryan?
So we can start writing our thing?
You should have already started writing your body paragraph. That's what you just did. You just started writing your body paragraph. So if you followed my directions, you already have your first body paragraph started. And the other thing I want to point out, guys, remember we talked about indenting, we leave that space. When we come down for the second line, we go way over here next to the red line on the side. We shouldn't have our paragraph written all the way over here. It should be indented here and then come back over. Okay, so go ahead and return to your seats and begin writing.